Well, hello and a very warm welcome. This is viewer exclusive on Viewer Television, and this is wishing you a happy new year. And thank you for joining me again on the very first episode of Viewer Exclusive for the year. This is a New Year's special. And as always, I know that you're making your plans for the new year. You're pumped up about the year. You've made those resolutions. You're setting for the year. You're pumped up. And this episode of Your Exclusive, we want to make sure that those goals and those things that you have set that you want to achieve this year are in the right order. And we want to make sure that you stick to it to the end of this year. And I'll be having a guest who will be joining me in conversation with you to see us through on how we can live and fulfill our New Year goals and agendas. My name is Chinoso Chekwes, as always. You'll meet my guest right after the break. Do stay tuned. Many thanks for staying with me. Yes, we're talking New Year resolutions as we always do every beginning of the year. This is another year 2024. And joining me today in the studio in this New Year's conversation is Engineer Daisy Alabi. He's a lead pastor of Abuja City Church here in the city of Abuja. Very good to have you, sir, come on the show.
Thank you very much for having me on this program.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming on. And Happy New Year
Same
to you. Yes, it's been a fantastic... We're generally seeing a sense that everybody, especially Nigerians, are excited about this particular New Year. We don't know what's different. Are you that excited about the New Year?
Well, everybody is excited to be in New Year, as it has to do, or to the extent that we successfully completed a year and we enter into a new one. But apart from the change of the calendar, the dates, the excitement has to be measured. It has to be gauged so that we don't just get carried away with the hooplas of a new year without getting concrete things done. So as we are excited, as we are happy it's New Year, at the same time, we have to keep our focus on the real thing so that we don't just get carried away with that rave.
Yeah. Right. So maybe you help us with a little bit of calendar history, because it may seem like we've left some people behind when we're talking about New Year, because like you've said, it's just a transition of dates. What is it about us moving from the 31st of December to the 1st of January that gets all of us? There's energy, there's excitement. You want to make New Year resolutions. What was wrong with what we did up until 31st that we have to stop? And like I said, it feels like we've left some people behind, because we know that China, they are not yet in the New Year. So what is all of this? What's all of this craze about moving into the 1st of January?
I think for us in this part of the world, we need to understand that we are very spiritual people. So the energy and the attention we give to this transition, that's what we used to, or crossover from 31st of December to January 1st, is more or less driven by our spiritual tendencies. What do I mean by that? Because if it is a day, no day is more special than any other day.
Yeah.
Every day is the same. And to make it worse, or funny rather, the New Year this year is on a Monday. So it's like any other Monday.
Yeah.
And the difference is that, okay, there's a public holiday. Because like you rightly put it, the whole world is not crossing to New Year at the same time. It is still happening along the line of different time zones. By the time in Nigeria, for instance, we're saying Happy New Year, some people are already in the 12th noon of the January 1st. Meanwhile, some people are just waking up in their own country. So I think this energy, this attachment to New Year celebration on this part of the world is driven by our sense of spirituality. I don't want to say religion, because we see that, okay, it's a new year, everything should be new, there should be new resolutions, new agendas. It's as if that's the only period of the year we start thinking, okay, what do I want to do this year? How did last year happen? So we have that energy coming from that position of, okay, it's a new year. Some people will tell you January 1st, there are things you must not do, because if you do them, that will be the way
set a tone for the rest of the
year we go. So somebody wanting to meet him in either a prayer house or a religious setting, giving the impression that, yes, I want to be close to God, or I want to do things differently this year. So I think the energy we put into this thing comes from that background. And if care is not taken, second day, third day into the year, nothing has changed.
Yeah, we want to really put emphasis on what drops that energy, because some people will just feel like, I've come into the first, whatever didn't happen on the 31st, if it didn't happen in the first, then it's not going to happen again throughout the year, and all those resolutions, all of those things. So let's even talk about resolutions first. What really are resolutions, and why do people feel the need and the importance to begin to make New Year resolutions from that 1st of January?
Resolutions are good because, a man should be able to review his life as you journey. Because anything you don't review, anything you don't examine, there cannot be improvement, there cannot be progress. So there's nothing wrong with resolution. But I think the problem is attaching this resolution to January 1st. Because a man can decide to make resolution at any point on his journey. And the reason why those things don't last, like you said, is because they were never product of reflection. We just get into the mood that, okay, this is one of the things we should do in New Year, without reflection. Because before you can begin to set a resolution that will be lasting, it must come out of your reflection over the previous years. For instance, this is 2024. So somebody needs to sit down, either as an individual or as a family or even as a business, and say, okay, before we start setting resolution for 2024, what did we set for 2023? What were the things that we set out to do to accomplish in 2023? How many were we able to do? The ones that we couldn't do, why couldn't we achieve them? What are the things that stopped us from doing that? So it is from that reflection that you can now come up and say, okay, going forward, these are the things we need to do. But when those things didn't happen, you just wake up January 1st, I want to make resolution. I want to lose 20 kg this year. It is not going to last, because after that initial energy, you realize that the stage for actual takeoff of those resolutions were not even there in the first place. You can't just wake up one day and say, I want to do this, I want to do this, without first of all looking at how. I tell people, before you say you want to do resolution, the first question you need to ask is, where am I? Where am I? So if you don't even know where you are, how do you begin to project into future? So they don't last because they were never product of reflection. They were never product of serious critical thinking. And I think that's what we need to do before we can say we want to do resolution. Sit down first. What couldn't I do that I thought of doing or achieving last year? Why couldn't I achieve them? And then you can begin to go from that place of the known now to the things that you don't know that will come in the year.
Yeah, so you've mentioned something about reflection, which is, I think it's paramount to making these decisions or these resolutions. But we're talking about a year now. How important is it for us to begin to make short-term resolutions? Say, for instance, you take out time to reflect per time so that you can maintain the same energy that you have come into January with.
Let me say this. The easiest thing to do is to talk and say, I want to. Anybody can say, I want to do this, I want to do that. It's very easy to say that. But you have to look at where you are and the reasonable, realistic thing to do, and not just something that sounds very bogus and attractive. I will use an example of weight loss, for instance, because that's where the whole world is now.
Everybody's losing weight January.
Now, you come into a new year and you are like, I need to get in shape. That's a very good idea. That's a lofty thing to say. But the first question is, how did I get into this shape? How did I get here? If you don't know how you get to where you are, going forward from there will be impossible. So I want to lose weight. The first question I want to ask is, it's not just about, you see, we start the resolution with what I want to do. We don't start with what I need to look at before I even start. Okay, for instance, I want to lose weight. Let me go and register in gym. No, I want to get in shape. How did I get here? Okay, I got here because 2023, I wasn't disciplined about my eating habit and eating pattern. I wasn't disciplined about eating healthy. Because of the nature of my work, I find myself coming back late at night and I still want to have dinner before I go to bed. Now, when I look at all those things, the resolution about losing weight will not start with registering in a gym. It will start with, okay, of these factors I've identified, which of them can I do something about? So I come back late and I want to eat. How do I deal with that? Okay, can I adjust my lunch to be late lunch? That I now have my lunch around 4, 5, so that by the time I get back home 8, 9, the urge to eat again, the pang of the hunger, have slowed down. So when I first of all examine those things, I'm already on my way to achieving that goal. I can now say, okay, in order to help me with this, what are the other practical things I need to do? That's number one. Number two, when you are setting resolution, I always advise people, don't start with the big picture. Start with the smallest, tiniest step that you can take. A man wrote a book that came out, I think this last year, I call it Atomic Habits. One Clear, that was his name, James Clear or something. Atomic Habits. And the guy said there is power in tiny little change. How tiny little change can produce major shift in our lives. Tiny little change. Something as simple or as small as every morning, I want to make sure my breakfast does not exceed 9 o'clock. For instance, something as little as that. We're not even talking about what you are eating. We're just saying the time. So I use that as an example to say, before you start with this business of resolution, you need to know how you get to where you are. You need to identify the little things that you can do. The reason why the energy, like you asked the other time, wane is because we set out to do things that are not realistic. And once you push yourself the first week, the second week, and you are not getting it, the drive to continue will die away. So what is the tiniest thing? Okay, for instance, what is it, 2024, I want to start a business. What is the little tiniest step you can take? I tell you, something as simple as even registering the business name. Just register the business name. And then it's not the money, it's not the capital that comes first. What is even the name of what you want to do? What is the vision that is going to... Just coming up with those things. This is the name of this business. This is our vision statement. This is our mission. That alone is already setting you on the line for actualization of that dream. So I will advise, you want to do resolution, don't start with the big pictures. Look at the little things that you can change that are within your power. Don't start with saying, I'm going to exercise 5 days a week when you have never done that before. Start with 1 hour in a week.
Yeah, and see how you go, because you've said something really important, because a lot of us start our resolutions so big. We start from the end. We start from, we just want to see ourselves, especially when you talk about this weight loss, we just want to see ourselves lose 5 kg in a week, and before you know it, your energy has been up, because we have recorded an 80% failure of people sticking to resolutions, especially in Nigeria. And you've mentioned something about starting a business, so it will bring financial concerns to me. Do you think this 80% failure of people sticking to their resolutions, you think it has anything to do with the finances or economics of Nigerians?
Well, I'm of the opinion, and I stand to be corrected, that anything is possible.
Okay.
And for success in business, from my experience and what I've been involved in, the primary concern, honestly, is not money.
Okay.
It's not finance. You see, money is drawn to value. Naturally, money is drawn to value. So if you set out, using business as an example, we get it wrong because in this climb, the first question we are asking is the capital. Is the capital, how much?
Yeah.
How much? And that's not, I had a friend a few years back who wanted to start a clothing business. And when we were talking, the first thing she wanted to do was to rent a shop. And I'm like, you want to start clothing business, and the first thing you are thinking about is getting a shop. What is your clientele base
Yeah.
that will make that the next move? Most people start this kind of thing you are doing now on their WhatsApp status.
Without having a
Some
shop.
start it from the boot of their car. So you can't be thinking of this business, and the first thing you are thinking is how to rent a shop in Wuse Market. Nobody is going to finance that. Nobody is going to fund that because it clearly shows that you don't even have a plan of how to achieve that. So we run into trouble when we start thinking about money. Meanwhile, the first thing about business is value. And money is attracted to value. So somebody wants to do business, sit down first, like I said. What is the vision for this business? How do we go about it? Who is our target? I was telling a group of entrepreneurs, I said, it's very easy to have new market. And the issue is, okay, you already have a business, you already have a good or service you are rendering. There are two ways you can increase it. It's either you get new clientele to buy into that, or you think of another business that your present client is going to need. What do I mean by that? For instance, you have a school. You already have people. Now, it's either you want to increase the number of your students, or as a school owner, you want to open a small shop where they can get things like shoes, like socks, like pantyhose, other things that go with the children going to school. So if you, to increase that business, you don't necessarily need to go and open another school, as it were. You can from there open a small shop, a store by that same school that parents, you're having problem getting the socks, you're having problem getting the belt, you're having problem getting this, we already have a store. By doing that, that business have increased.
Yes.
So the first thing is not about looking for money. I know it's hard to get money in Nigeria, but you will also be surprised in the past 2 years that a lot of startup businesses that have been funded in Nigeria has been astronomical. Because when people see that there is a value, there is a good plan, the money comes out. So the 80% that drops off is because they are asking the wrong question. Like you said, they are looking at the end without looking at the little steps that can deliver the goal.
Yeah, and that's our interest today, to make sure that this kind of momentum, this kind of energy that we use to start up the year is maintained, because that is what will ensure that we end the 2024 as strong as we started. And you're going to be helping to tell us steps and realistic goals, agendas that we can set throughout this period, little by little, so that we start off this year like this, we end it like this, and that's how our lives will progress. We'll go on a quick break now. Join us. We're still in conversation on setting agendas for the new year. Don't go nowhere.
In this 21st century, where all the information we need is now in the palm of our hands. News from around the world, entertainment, celebrity gossip, sports, and much more. The only thing that you need is the right source. Viewer TV is now on the go. Simply check us out on our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter for all the information you need.
Viewer exclusive here on Viewer Television, and I'm still in conversation with Engineer Daisy Alabi, the lead pastor of Abuja City Church, and we're here helping you to set the agenda and to set the tone for 2024, to set the right agendas. Let me rephrase that and give you the right tone so that you end 2024 as we have started. It seems too early to be talking about ending the 2024, but like we're talking about beginning, so it's not too early to start talking about how the 2024 should end. It all starts from the beginning. So we're talking majorly about resolutions now. Before we start talking about how to set agenda and how to maintain the momentum, where most of the time, like you've mentioned about the resolutions that people make, they are mostly people-centered. They are mostly about myself. Like you said, I want to lose weight. I want to do this. How important is it for us to begin to look beyond ourselves when we're making resolutions? Begin to look at how the resolutions we make affect people around us, affect the society, affect our communities.
Yeah, thank you very much. There is something that is very common in this part of the world. It's hard mentality. Hard mentality in the sense that everybody wants to do what everybody is doing. And that's part of what affects this resolution. Because most times, we come up with resolutions that are not genuine to us, that are not original to us. They are just reflection of what you see people say or talk about.
Yeah.
And once it's like that, it can never be sustained. Now, how do we plan life, look at resolutions in a way that have global, communal, societal impact, and not just self?
Exactly.
You need to understand that it takes the understanding that life was never designed to be lived personally or individual. I'm going to explain what I mean by that.
Okay.
Life was designed to be independent. We're designed to be independent. Nobody lives in isolation. My people from Southwest have a saying that anybody who wants to be alone in this world will die of fear. What that means is that you can't even live if there are no people around. If you drive out of your house in the morning and you hit the highway and there are no cars on the highway and your car is the only car on the highway, you are not likely to continue that trip.
Yes.
You go back thinking that something is wrong. So that's the way life is designed originally. It's supposed to be independent. It was supposed to be dependent, connected to one another. And until we factor that back to this our lives and this our resolution making, we won't go far. So let's look at it this way. I want to make a resolution. That resolution, how much of it is going to have an impact on my immediate environment? Or is it just all about me and what I stand to gain? If it is only about me and my personal interests and what I stand to gain, there's every tendency that it cannot be pushed forward or it cannot be sustained. The reason being this, you see, we derive strength from knowing that we are impacting something.
Yes.
We derive energy from knowing that our lives count. So when you have resolutions that is not affecting anyone, that is not impacting anyone, that is not contributing to anything, that is just self-centered, after some time the energy will go. The steam will be gone. And there are ways to do that. For instance, let's go back to this weight loss, which is a real thing. How does my getting in shape affect my society? For instance, something as simple as that. I want to look at losing weight, and I want to look at it not just from personal position. How does it affect my society? The kind of job I do, the kind of profession I belong in, it is incumbent that I'm in shape, because if I'm in shape, I stand to be able to, I will be more productive. So my seeking to be in shape is being driven by my sense of productivity. That if my productivity increases, the society, the community at large is going to benefit. So I'm not pushing my agenda for getting in shape just because I want to pepper somebody. It is having a communal sight now that is something this my getting in shape is going to contribute to my society. If that becomes the driving force, then I'll be able to sustain that push. But if it is just something that ends with me, the energy will run out. Because like I said, life was designed to be lived in a way that it connects with other people. So we have to start bringing communal value, societal impact into the things we do. If I want to set resolution or goals for my finances this year, why do I want to do that? I want to do that so that I can have more to give. I want to do that so that I can have more to impact the society. I want to do that so that I can have more children. I can improve on the number of children that I send to school, or that I'm paying for their fees or stuff like that. So when that communal side, societal side is now beginning to come into our goals and our visions, we stand to do more, to get more done, rather than when it is just all about us.
So we're supposed to be moving from thinking of ourselves as just the unit that gets to achieve something from goals. And I must say that it's really amazing to hear you link weight loss to communal gain.
When you are in shape, you are helping all of us.
You're to link that, and I would like us to dwell a little bit on that. I'm not talking of weight loss now. I'm talking about how we can have even self-resolutions that help the community, because everything we do, we would want to see how everything we do is changing the little space we have around, and at large the country, and at large the nation. It just help us with the kinds of resolutions that we should begin to make, even if we think of ourselves as a unit, but impact our society and our community, our workspace.
Thank you very much. We don't need to color it. It's very easy to set those resolutions with the understanding of our challenges. And as a nation, as a people today, the number one challenge known with Nigeria all over the world is issue of corruption. So anybody, any Nigerian setting a resolution, a goal for this new year, and that does not have a little, no matter how small, a little connection to how by himself or in his own space is going to do something to reduce that, it's not a resolution that is of use to us. Okay. So let's look at it from that place. So everybody should enter this 2021 and say, okay, how can I, within my little circle, contribute to this fight of changing the face of this nation from what it has been known all over the world to what it should be? Number one, little thing as simple as, in my dealings this year, I want to live and make all my financial dealings in a way that I will not cheat anybody.
Oh, wow.
We start with that. Something as simple as, I go out on a daily basis and I want to transact on a daily basis. I want my transactions to be done honestly in a way that nobody leaves cheated. Many of us were very quick to shout about the big numbers and the big figures that we hear on the TV. Meanwhile, on a daily basis at our own small levels, we do the same thing. The difference is the scale. If many of us have the same opportunity to deal with those kind of figures, we do worse things. So how am I going to do this year in dealing with, for instance, by the virtue of where God has positioned me, those who are under me? How am I going to deal this year? I'm going to be fair with my cleaner. I'm going to be fair with my cook. I'm going to be fair with my driver. How am I going to do this year that if I work in an office and I'm going for a site visit or a site trip and there are allocations from the office for everybody traveling, how am I going to do this year to make sure that even the driver, everybody gets what is due to them without something getting lost in that transaction? Yeah. So that's one of the things that we have to look at. Another thing in this our city, Abuja, is the issue of environmental pollution. So every one of us in Abuja should make a resolution that has to do with that. That this year, I will make a resolution that when I drink either pure water or whatever in the vehicle, I'm not going to throw it out of the window. Yeah. I'm going to hold it. I'm not going to litter my immediate environment. Something as simple as that can go a long way. When I make that resolution, you make that resolution, you will be surprised the amount of solution we have already brought into our system. So there are a whole lot of things out there that we're shouting about that if individuals can just factor in how they can be part of the solution, the problem will drastically reduce. Abuja is becoming a place that is no longer what it used to be in those days. Insecurity is on a very high scale now.
Yeah.
Part of our resolution as well those years should have something to do with that. I tell people that I have the privilege to lead, it's no longer the time that you just get out of your house, you just go and nobody knows where you are. You want to be part of the solution, add it to your resolution. This year I'm going to be accountable. Every of my movements will be known to somebody. Wherever I am, anywhere, at any point in time, there will be somebody somewhere who knows where I am, who knows where I'm going next. Something as simple as that can deliver a whole lot of dividend to us as a people. So I'm challenging and encouraging us. Resolutions to go beyond what I want to do for myself. Let's begin to add to it what can push forward this nation. Something as simple as, I'm into energy as an engineer, something as simple as energy conservation. That when I'm going out of my house this year, I'm going to see to it that all lights are turned off. I'm going to see to it that all taps are turned off so that those things can be conserved for other people to use. These are areas that all of us can contribute to making our city, to making our nation better by our individual resolutions. They start as individual resolutions, but if you look at the end of those things, they bring societal and communal benefits.
Yeah.
And that's something we should push for.
It's important. They say they start personally and they spread out, because it's what we're all seeking for. We're all seeking for a better Nigeria, a better nation, and all of that. Yes. So it's important, like we're talking about now, to maintain this momentum. A lot of us get tired. Let's take, for instance, now that you try throughout the year and you see that, oh, I can't keep up with this. I can't keep up with this. What are the things that we can do to remind ourselves that we can? You can continue, like you're saying, setting small goals per time. What are this, especially like you're talking about, you've given us those small steps. Now, so let's talk about making those individual goals now. Most importantly, weight loss. I love how you have linked weight loss to our community. So let's focus on that. What are the steps that we can take to see that, okay, things like that, we're able to stick to it little by little?
Thank you very much. You see, the first thing to do, like I said, now we're looking at how to sustain this energy.
Yes.
Number one, start small. Don't bite more than what you can chew. It can sound very interesting to say, I want to lose so kg, but start small, because if the goal is not realistic, you get tired. Nobody wants to keep putting energy into something that you don't believe is going to produce result. And when we don't see the result, we back off. So number one, start small. That's the first thing. Number two, there is also how long a man can go alone all by himself. Get accountable. Get people to journey with you. Sometimes we don't know the power and the impact of accountability.
Yeah.
It is something that can help a lot. What do I mean by that? I get someone else into my commitment, a friend, a spouse, a co-worker, that, okay, this is what I want to do this year, and I've started. I need you to keep me accountable on this. So somebody calls you up and say, hey, Alpha, were you at the gym today? Boy, I was so tired. I couldn't go. That means you are owing tomorrow. The fact that someone else is checking in on you helps you to push a little bit longer. So get someone into it. In fact, if it's something that you can do as a group, the better. Get someone to sign up on it with you, that you do that together. Another thing that I've seen that help, celebrate the little achievement. You see, sometimes somebody is waiting until he has lost 5 kg. But the fact that half a kilo has been shed should be something to celebrate, because there is something about that celebration, that joy that I'm accomplishing something. That is a way it gives us a push. So we must learn to celebrate our little successes. Little victories must be celebrated. And what do I mean by celebration? Giving yourself something. Giving yourself something in recognition of that little effort that has been able to produce results. So we're not waiting until the end before we start celebrating. But as we make each progress, we celebrate that. Another thing is there must be constant review. Whatever you don't review, you cannot progress in it. Yeah. Where was I when I started? Where I am now? If it has taken me 30 days to shed half a kilo, that means if I'm targeting losing 5 kg, is that good enough? That means I'm going to need 10 months or 11 months. So how do I improve on that? So we must constantly review our performances. And that does not mean we are trying to be hard on ourselves, but it's just to say, am I making progress? Am I achieving anything? Or is this method that I'm using, is it the best method, or do I need to change the method? So review is very, very important in sustaining energy. And that's something we must learn to do. Let's learn how to review all these things as we go. And then one thing that is very critical for me, that is very important, is that a man must be humble enough to admit that this thing is not working.
Yeah.
Sometimes we want to achieve something, but because we have not taken our time to do enough groundwork, we choose a method that is not giving us maximum result. And because of ego, because of pride, because of I've committed so much to this, we stick to it. Meanwhile, it is not working. In those days, they call it beating a dead horse. If you will beat the dead horse till tomorrow, you will not get up. So sometimes we must be humble enough to say, you know what, this my approach is not working. Maybe I need to change tactics. Maybe I need to change strategy. Maybe I need another method that can give me results. We must be able to say that I'm not getting what I want, and I'm open to reviewing my strategy. That's something that is very critical. The goal may not change, but the strategy to achieve it may have to change as we journey. Because sometimes your situation in January when you start out might not be different when you are in March. And you still want to stick to the same thing you have been doing. So you need to realistically look at it and say, okay, now with what I have in my hand, can I still continue with this method or with this strategy, or do we have to change it altogether? It applies to us as individuals, it applies as family, it applies as business, because a family in January, by March, a new addition has come to the family. Maybe the wife gave birth or whatever. The whole scenario of that family have changed. So we have to now factor that into that initial resolution. The reason why we can't push on most times is because when situations change, we refuse to change our strategy. And because the strategy cannot work in this new situation, we abandon everything. So I think we need to be that realistic to look at it. With what I have now, it is called finding fault. Finding fault does not mean you are not looking for what is not working. It means you subject your current practice, to scrutiny using a higher level of understanding. With what I know now, is this thing still relevant? Is this still producing results? Yeah. And we must be free to do that at any point if we are going to sustain the energy that we have.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Before we go on a break, let's let this out. There's been a lot of economic and financial doom predictions for 2024. And a lot of us, we don't want that to be our story. So when we come back from the break, Engineer Daisy Alabi is going to be telling us on how to set financial goals so that the economic doom being predicted by experts is not our story. Join me again after the break. Many thanks for staying with me. This is still viewer exclusive on Viewer Conversation, and I'm still in conversation with Engineer Daisy Alawi. And before we went on the break, I was saying of how there's been a lot of predictions about economic doom, financial and economic doom for Nigerian citizens, and a lot of people are already beginning to get concerned. And if there's one thing on people's minds is how to get out of this. Looking at our present economic situation in the country, as individuals, as companies, as organizations, how do we make good financial, let me use the word resolutions, or set goals? How do we begin to make financial decisions to see that we do not experience a financial year worse than we did in 2023?
Yeah, thank you very much. I wouldn't want to use the word doom. I would just stick with challenging.
Okay.
That 2024 is going to be financially challenging, and that's not difficult to understand. I mean, it doesn't need prophecy to see that. Just look at the precedent and look at the trajectory. We know that it's going to get worse before it gets better. So what do we do? Now, the problem most time is when people think of economic resolution, the first thing we start thinking about is making more money.
Okay.
Which is a wrong place to start, because there are some people, they are on fixed, as it were, fixed income. And there is already a boundary, as it were, now for what can come in. Instead of starting with increasing the income, I think the best strategy to start with, of course, we can later look at how you can bring in more money, but as it is now, the first thing to start with is how do we reduce expenditure? Okay. Because there are two ways by which you can improve your economic fortune, either by bringing in more money or by spending less money. So, and the one that is most easily, can be easily done or achieved or tackled might be to reduce the expenditure. Everybody needs to sit down, and this is Abuja City, for instance. There is a lot of fake life out there. We do a lot of things just to impress people that we don't even have the capacity to do. So the first thing I would tell anybody, 2024 is going to be tough financially. Let's start by looking at how do I reduce my expenses this year? What are the things that we don't need, but out of sentiment, out of pride, out of trying to impress someone, we keep doing them? We need to look at that. Some people need to realistically review the whole of their life together financially. Many are living in a neighborhood that they cannot afford, just to impress people. So many people have their children in schools. If you have to borrow money, raise capital fund every time your child is going back to school, it's an indication that you are doing something that is beyond your level. Because every parent knows that in a year, if they're in secondary or primary school, 3 times in a year, you are going to pay fees.
Yes.
So if at every beginning of every term, pay fee become a struggle, that means those children are attending schools that you don't have capacity for. So everybody needs to, that's what they mean by tightening the belt. What are the things that I can cut off? Do I need to review the school my children attend? Do I need to review the neighborhood that we live in? We have 2 cars. Must we go out every day with 2 vehicles? How do we plan our movement? So first thing first is reducing your expenses. Something as simple as reducing the amount of credit you load on your phone. Something as simple as reducing the data you buy can put you in such a place that can make you afloat when the difficult days come. So the first resolution this year is everybody should look at it realistically. Let me reduce my expenses. Let's cut some, what do we call it, in between meals, the snacks that are not even, in the first place, they are not even healthy, and they are not all that necessary. So these are the things. If we can reduce the expenses, then we might put ourselves in a place and our families in a place that we can ride this storm until the things start picking up. So it is not about increasing income first. It's about seeing how to reduce it so that what you have now can do more than you are doing presently. I think that's where we start from.
Yeah, that's a really great advice that I think everybody should hold on tight to. But lastly, because we're running out of time, you made mention of that it will get like this before it gets better.
Yeah.
So quickly, in a minute, what should we hold on to see that this is actually going to come? Are there any form of reforms, economic reforms, or anything that will ensure that we come out of this?
Well, I'm not an economic expert, but from what we can see and what we can learn, I think presently we are on the right path. What do I mean by that? Subsidy is gone. It has to stay away. The fight to have this a unitary exchange rate must stay, even though we are having the challenges now. But like I said, it will get better. That must stay. And the need for us to keep our budget, to increase our capital expenses in our budget must stay. If we stay with these things and we are able to doggedly pursue them, it will produce results. You cannot treat a wound and make it heal in one day. And that's what is happening to us. There's been a lot of bleeding in our economy in Nigeria. Now that we're tightening it, that we're bandaging it, we are treating it, we don't expect that healing in one day. First quarter of this year will still be tough, according to every indices. But from second and third quarter, things will begin to stabilize. So we just need to hold on, keep on what we are doing now, and sustain it, and we'll be fine.
Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful conversation with you. It has been a conversation with Engineer Daisy Alabi, setting the agenda for us in 2024. Thank you for sticking with us to the end of our New Year's viewer exclusive special. Until I come your way again, have a wonderful 2024. And my name is Chino Sochekwas. I'll see you again.